Well, good morning. Welcome to B Cube Sunday morning. And it is indeed a wonderful Sunday. It's Mother's Day. Now, I've told all my Mother's Day stories, I think. So let us just suffice to say my mother was a good person, loved her, and she worked hard and succeeded in raising an incredible human being, and my sisters as well. You know, the which reminds me, I have to call them. But well, good morning, David. The reason it's just me is that people get to go on vacation. Tom and Karen are heading off to Ireland, and having been there, I can only say I hope they enjoy it. Now, there was something I did make a promise to do, and that is I am disturbed. I think is probably the best. Well, I know. Get it out of your system. But I'm disturbed by what I see happening on the voting fronts. The there, it's as if there is a complete effort out there to turn us back to 1904. You know, the or even 1964, before we had the Voting Rights Act. It is just horrible. And so I had made a commitment that said, any of you guys that are on the show today, showing up as a guest, I will invite you to come on and share your perspective on camera. And you can do that. All you got to do is, in fact, I'm going to put a link there here that, and right there it goes up. There's the link. And if you follow that link, it'll show up to say, hey, Bob, I want to come in and talk. And good morning, Jeff. And as I always like to do when Jeff's here, is remind people of, oops, something went wrong. It says it wants me to reload the page. That's never a good sign. Jeff, what did you do? Was it you? Um, well, guess not. You're all there. But what it is that I've been paying a lot more attention to voting and how it works. And I've come to the conclusion that the Democrats, we're just not that good at mobilization. Oh, we can turn out the big marches sometimes, and I think that's wonderful. But how are we doing on the little side, the micro management, the um, the getting the people where they show up to meet a candidates, to shake hands, to join out and join in doorbelling, walking your neighborhoods, getting signs up. I live in a town where the Republicans are so empowered that people on the Democratic Central Committee are literally refused to put up a sign saying that would let anybody know they're a Democrat because they're afraid somebody's going to throw a rock through their window. I mean, that is just sad. And it's not just the Democrats because, uh, oh, yeah, there will be more assaults. Last year, I watched on video, my video for my security camera, as folks ran up, parked their car in front of my house, ran into my yard, yanked all my campaign signs up, and took them. Of course, that made me laugh a little bit because I have this, and this is my secret weapon on my campaign signs. A little bit of Vaseline and a good sprinkling of glitter on your signs, and Joe, fascist, pulls up in his car, yanks your sign out of the ground, throws it in the car, and drives off really quickly. Well, since he's probably borrowing his grandmother's car because he can't get one of his own, he's going to have to explain to her why he just trashed her car with glitter. And when he gets home and climbs down into the basement and to where he's living, find out that he's just trashed the house and everything else, because you guys all know glitter is a pain in the butt. So when you put your campaign signs out, remember, glitter and Vaseline can help give you reasons to laugh when somebody goes out there and um, wants to steal your signs. Yeah, Cheryl, rocks aren't too bad. Bullets are a different thing. Um, but I gotta say, we can't let ourselves be intimidated, um, because this is, you talk about, it's been a war on Democrats and Democratic leaning people. Um, DEI. What was the first executive order Donald J. I'm only a fascist on TV, Trump, um, signed? It was ending all DEI programs. He doesn't want diversity. He doesn't want education. He doesn't want inclusion. For example, we all remember Doge. Doge was supposedly an attack on waste, fraud, and abuse that wound up costing the uh, government billions. But when they got done, it also had a huge impact on black women. And I haven't seen any numbers on the impact on trans members of the trans community, or the black men. But I know that the statistics I saw said we saw a 30% reduction in the federal workforce of black women, an 8% reduction overall in men, and an 11% reduction in women in general. So that's telling you where the greatest impact was felt. Donald Trump's entire presidency has been a war on diversity, a war on voters, a war on black people, a war on anybody who's not one of his chosen. And I'm glad to see you still had the Dem signs in your yard, Cheryl, because I tell you what, I just ordered my Vote Blue signs. And my Vote Blue signs, I would go out, doorbell my neighborhood, plant them, and they very seldom got stolen from yards. But if I had them in a public space, boy, howdy, uh, they would get stolen. And in fact, I know one of the people or the families that stole them. They had this sign was up in their yard. I'm voting for the felon, and all I could think is, wow. I'm pretty sure, Charles, that it is illegal to electrify campaign signs to keep your neighbors' goats from chewing them, right? Hmm. There's got to be something you can spray on them that makes them taste bad to goats. That's a very good question. We've got a hive mind here. How do you keep goats from eating campaign signs? Now, the signs I use are corrugated plastic. Um, and I don't think that would dissuade a goat from eating the sign. Um, I focus most of my efforts on keeping Republicans from getting at my signs. Hence, I go back to my Yahoo, that. But another point to good morning, Andrew. The is that we do have another thing going on today. It's called Mother's Day. So I am so glad to see that most of us have or have had mothers. Uh, and that makes it a good thing to have a Mother's Day. But I just don't know. If I was, I don't know anything about Trump's mother other than she had oddly big hair in the pictures I've seen. But what would be, I we were young once. I was young once, and sitting with a friend of mine, Robert Mark Anderson. He was a fellow Navy nuke, and we had an epiphany, and we said, you know what? How much would it suck that one day you're old, you've raised your kids, sent them out to the world, and you have to admit to yourself that your son or daughter is a complete asshole. Um, when I think of that, I go back and think about you know, Trump, Mother Vance, but I don't know. Uh, um, what Mother Vance might have thought about her son, other than, for God's sake, guy, pick a name and stick with it. I don't remember how many names he had and such, but he's been through a few. And speaking of been through a few, no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump's wives. The that would be mean. But all of his assassination attempts, or purported or alleged, the I mean, Superman had uh, got nothing on Donald Trump based on the fact that I've looked at pictures of Donald Trump's ear, perfect condition, no sign uh, of damage. Okay, what do you mean there, Dave? To best? Oh, a beehive to end all beehives. Yes, James, saying you miss your mom. I do miss mine. I we have a saying in a writers group that I used to belong to. Hey, if you want somebody to tell you how good your book or your story is, give it to your mom. but don't bring it here. We're going to give you advice and we're going to try and help you fix it. I sent my first children's book that I published uh, or that I sold. I didn't publish it. Um, and I sent her a copy. She sent me back a note that says kind of slow at the beginning. So that didn't work for me. But I loved her all the more for it because when your mom loves you and respects you, she's going to tell you the truth about what you do. And I kind of like that. So I do miss my mom too. I always would send her my books, and sometimes she would read them. You never know. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was something we're doing new. Uh, and what we're doing new is we are having BCube Sunday morning has been such a fun thing to do. I've enjoyed it. Got lots of people involved who do various pieces. Um, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, uh, 7, 8 different people host the various shows on a rotating basis. And it's a wonderful time, makes life easy for me. I got to do is sit back and uh, yawn occasionally. Uh, and Oh, that's cool. As Cheryl says, at least we had a mom worth missing. Uh, I wonder why that's not getting on the. So, but anyway, um, I have got a new venture with the BQ project coming up, and that is we have so many great writers and so many good short stories. The average length of a short story in our one of our books is about 2,300 words, and 2,300 words is a great half-hour reading, more or less, depending on the pace of your reading. And so we have got volumes and volumes of great stories to be read. We've got new book coming out, The American Storm, Our American Storm, and American Storm, whatever. Basically, we shortcut it to American Storm. And it's got brilliant stories in there. And we had a reading where we read a bunch of poetry from it. And so now, Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, we're going to be doing readings from B Cubed books by B Cubed authors. And our very first one is a story by Ken Scholes. Now, Ken Scholes wrote the Lamentations, a wonderful, I think it was 3 books series that appeared in Tor. And he put it together. He wrote it for me for Space Force. Now, one of the reasons I was so thrilled to have Ken Scholes in Space Force is that there was 3 guys that used to be kind of like the 3 Musketeers. They hung together. They wrote great stuff. They were in the same writers group. And that was Manny Frischberg, who edited After the Orange Forest, and John. God, how could I? Don't let me forget John's name. And Ken Scholes. John passed away right after he sold me his story for Space Force, and so Space Force is has an incredible collection of stories, but has some by people that will know I'll never get to buy another story from. Mike Resnick uh, is one, for example. So anyway, The um, the Ken is going to show up tonight at 6 o'clock and read his Space Force story for us, which is absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of the finest things he ever wrote. And I tell you, he wrote good things. Let me tell you how good Ken is. I was at Norwestcon, and Ken was running late. Um, and Jen came up and said, "Hey, he has a reading here in about 15 minutes. Do you think you could do his reading for him?" And I got a copy. They gave me a copy of the story, and I put on a big old flannel shirt, and I went in there and I decided I was going to channel Ken Scholes. And if you've ever read a short story cold, you know that you will find every error, every mistake you ever made, and it's going to cause you to occasionally catch. I read his story and it flowed perfectly. Not a glitch, not a moment of incomplete thought. It just worked. And when he came back, I got to thank him for letting me read that story. And reading it out loud was like a master's course in or a master's class in understanding what good writing is. Because Ken is brilliant. Okay, we are back to uh, the questions about goats. I know this. When I was a kid, 9-volt battery, put it on your tongue, you got a tingle. Okay? I got to believe that if a goat is grounded and he's chewing on a sign that is waiting for something to ground it, he's going to get a tingle. And he probably or she probably won't like that tingle and will probably leave your signs alone. But I would never recommend electrifying. I think my personal choice of booby trap being the glitter and Vaseline is good enough because I never had a sign removed twice after the glitter bomb hit. So, yes, John Pitts. Thank you, Jeff. My God, that is because John Pitts, I loved writing John Pitts. Or publishing John Pitts. He had such good stories, easy to edit. Oh my God. And there's some people I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking about them, but 20 years? No. John Pitts has not been dead for 30 years. Um, oh, your mother. Yes. It, you guys are all good kids. You miss your mother. You think about her and such. Um, I think that that's a great thing to do. I bought my wife a Mother's Day present. It was really cool. Of course, the idea of it, maybe she may forgive me someday for it, but you always got to buy your wife a good Mother's Day present. And if you don't get it right, don't worry. She'll forgive you. Unlike, or mothers will always forgive you. Wives, not quite as sure to get forgiveness. Uh, somebody says uh, that I should buy her a Pontiac GTO. Not in a million years. I don't think that would be the right answer. Uh, or Andrew, I don't think I should give her her own podcast either. She has stories to tell. Now, when I tell stories, it's just like, yeah, let's have some fun. But when she tells stories, it could be I have to call the FBI and tell them she's just joking. So that's where we are on that. So anyway, where was that? Oh, I was back to the voting. I mean, the Republicans just have no shortage of things that they want to do. Did you see in Tennessee? They only had one district that was majority black, and that's because it was Memphis. Now, somebody out there can look up and see what the percentage of the population in Memphis, Tennessee is that's African American. Uh, but that was the only majority black district. And so, after a ruling that says, well, you can't deliberately use race to make a district, uh, they promptly said, yeah, see, and so we got to get rid of that black district we have, and so now we have ensured that all of our districts are majority white. Now, if that isn't using race to manage your redistricting process, I don't know what is. But I figure as people get smarter and Trump gets dumber and does more stupid things and illegal things and rapes more children, uh, if indeed he did, um, the um, oh, okay, never mind. The So your neighbor ran over your signs with a GTO? Interesting. Hmm. But anyway, they're going out of their way. Virginia, the voters approved a map that said this is the map we want to use. We believe they're fair and balanced. It got rid of uh, white Republican gerrymandering. And so the Virginia Supreme Court says, oh no, you can't use that. Down in Louisiana, where 1/3 of the population is African American, which would mean out of the 6 congressional districts they have, you might expect to see a couple of them not uh, majority white. Well, guess what they did? They canceled their election so they could get rid of the majority black districts that they had. Canceled an election. That's just ridiculous because elections are important. But here's one for you. Did you know that you have no constitutional right to vote? Nope, you don't. And what's scary about that is they know it. And if anybody were ever to try and um, put a constitutional amendment guaranteeing the right to vote, it would never, ever have a chance of getting through. Um, the Because when the voting numbers are high and more people turn out, Democrats win. When you only get a fringe voting, Republicans win. And I prefer to have uh, representation of the greatest number of people possible when determining our electorate or our government. Because some people might have remembered that we are government by the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people. But now we're a government of the oligarchs, by the oligarchs, for the oligarchs. I mean, if it weren't for billionaires, we wouldn't have a cabinet. Don't get me going on that. Because and then the idea that our elections are free and fair when the media is completely controlled by the Republican Party. Uh, you think you get to, you have oops, uh-oh, there we go. I thought I had my yeah, they Cheryl, exactly, Tennessee. It's and as Baba, yeah, Shaggy Baba said, it's um, we're returning to Jim Crow. Memphis, 63% black. So now, in a non-racial perspective, the state of Tennessee has said we can't have a compact district, which is one of the criteria for a district, that it's as compact as possible, joins people of similar interests, etc. They had to break it up into three and stretch it halfway across the state. And in Tennessee, halfway across the state, that's a long state. It's damn near as wide as Texas. I'm not sure if it is or isn't, but I can tell you what, I have driven from one end of Tennessee to the other and one side of Texas to the other. Both of them are long ass drives. Tennessee's prettier. I'll give them that. But so be it. So no, it's this notion that they think we're idiots that we can't see, and they don't care if we know what they're doing. Um, it's just ridiculous, and you know, I don't know where to go with it, other than the fact that we definitely have, yeah, Baba Yaga's Baba Baba. You're gonna have to get a shorter name, Shaggy. The it is broken. I have a thought. I say we should be able to build ourselves. It is. It is. Jim Crow is back. Uh, we Plessy versus Ferguson, I believe, was one of the decisions that put us in this situation. And there's been a whole bunch of them that they should be the data that you're allowed to use in um, redistricting, the number of voters and geographic considerations. Period. You shouldn't, and then you build yourself a computer program that will make the most compact districts possible with the consideration to equal numbers of voters and using the geographic boundaries. And guess what? You're going to come up with some districts that may seem on the surface unfair because it will give a Republican Party an advantage or a Democratic Party the advantage. Well, guess what? The purpose of redistricting is to ensure that we break it up as evenly as possible, not to give one party advantage over the other. And if that's just a consequence of being fair, we're going to have to accept it, because once you start saying, "Oh, I can't have a redistricting um, that this party came out ahead using neutral criteria," that will change in the next 10 years. Of course, the idea that we only redistrict every 10 years, Trump, in his effort to stay out of prison for all the crimes he's committed, and probably the frauds. I mean, the man has violated the Constitution so damn many ways, made so much money. Hell, look at his phone scam. $100 non-refundable deposit to get the great Trump phone. $59 million he's got on it, and he doesn't have a phone, and nobody gets to get a refund. He's just a straight up con man. Yeah, they don't care. The system is broken. Well, I didn't see where anybody said they wanted to come on and give me their opinion. Well, darn. I put that link there. All you got to do is click it and you'll show up. Nope. Still didn't nobody want to show up. So I guess what that means? That means you guys have voted to keep me talking too much. And I do talk too much sometimes, but I tell you what, I believe in voting. I believe in protesting. I believe in speaking truth to power. And I believe that we need to have health care for people. Nobody's kid, nobody should die of a preventable disease because they ain't got the money. Nobody should have to wait a year to see a doctor. I still remember back when Hillary was given the task of working on health care, and how dare Bill Clinton put a woman in charge of something so important, and then how dare Hillary hyphenate her name and adopt Hillary Rodham Clinton. Just pissed the right wing off. Nothing pissed them off that bad till Obama came along and wasn't white. It just, God bless them. They accuse us of being snowflakes, but I have never seen anything as snowflakey as a butthurt Republican. And you know how you find a butthurt Republican? Just pull up the Republican voter registration rolls. You'll find them. But anyway, they told us back then that if we adopted Hillary's program, everybody would be going bankrupt because they wouldn't be able to pay for their doctor's bills. They told us we'd be waiting years, months. Give you an example just from myself. 2 months ago, I entered a brief moment to go visit the hospital and found out that I had a minor heart problem, AFib, and if I die, and a little bit of blood pressure. And so I got myself on the list to go see a heart doctor. The soonest I could get in to see a doctor, I'll tell you when I get there, January of 2027. That's what our modern healthcare system has brought us. And they're making good money off of it. They're just not taking care of the people. And is treason still a crime down there? Oh yeah, you're from Canada. I forgot, Andrew. Well, the Supreme Court has shown us one serious thing. Nothing is a crime if the judge says it ain't. And if the judges don't say it's a crime, then it's not a crime. The Constitution can say equal protection under the law. That means I get equal access to the legal rights and responsibilities that or the legal rights under the law that everybody else has. But I tell you what, if I'm poor or if I'm minority, wait till the election time comes and they've taken away my vote by mail or extended voting hours or extended this, that, or the stretched out voting, and look at the lines. It's taken, there's a representative in Texas. She has proposed a bill that says you have to tell somebody 7 days in advance of the election if you're changing their voting location. Really? If you're telling somebody that they've got to go vote in person and you've told them for a year that they got to go vote over at Jason Lee Elementary School, and then tomorrow or the election's coming and you've decided in this primarily Democratic precinct that you're moving it, and the only people that get told are the people that get the letter or the email from the Republican Party because they're the ones that got told. That's wrong. Or when you go look and you see the lines for getting into the polling place for a black community or a poor community, looks like looks like a Star Wars opening night back in the day when they only had one screen showing. It's just ridiculous. Equal protection says my lines shouldn't be any longer than anybody else's. My access to my polling place shouldn't be any harder than anybody else's. Why is it? And why is it almost always the poor or the minority or the Democrat? I tell you why. Because the powerful people are scared to death of minority voters who will support the Democratic Party. Oh, yeah. Okay, what has we got here, Andrew? You know, my little button that lets me show posts seems to be broken. Andrew tells me I have been building a publishing peer move this family to go up to Cascadia and take on I have no healthcare jobs. But I can tell you this, is when we take away the funding, when we say we don't have the money to fund healthcare in this country, but we've got the money to kill 170 children in Iraq, to send every ship in the Navy out there to protect the oil company's interests, something's wrong. It ain't right. We need to, we just got to keep talking, keep calling our congressmen. Now is the time of year with the primaries coming. Find out who's running. Go look at their website. I sent a nice long email to the guy running to be my new congressman because he posted a platform. I didn't agree with everything on the platform. I told him about the things I disagreed with, brought them up for discussion, and we discussed them. Does that mean that just because I disagree with him on one element, I'm not going to vote for him? Hell no. The only other option is voting for somebody that's going to endorse, that'll do everything Trump says to do. And Trump is an evil, evil man. Never forget that. So as we go through, holy cow. I'm sorry, I've been talking too long. But I did something interesting. It's too late for those of you in Washington State, but I decided that in Washington State, the lowest peon in the electoral system is called the precinct committee officer. They're the people who make up the local party. And so I went out there and I filed to be a precinct committee officer. 5 minutes online. And guess what? Nobody else wanted the job, so they gave it to me. That pissed me off. I wanted 8 people to want that job. I wanted to see 8 people put their names on and get on the ballot and run for precinct committee officer and see who got elected. And that'd also give us a list of 8 people who are interested enough in our country and our well-being to get out and want to participate. We got to be the people who want to participate. We can't just sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. Our legislatures we've got to talk to them. We got to make sure they understand we're paying attention. Those that are in our party, those that are not in our party, because I can tell you what, nobody gets elected in our part of the country. Nobody gets elected just by the party, the people in their party. We have in Washington State, and I love it, a top 2 primary system, which means I usually have a choice between 2 Republicans. Well, the top 2 means that we're going to get 1 fascist and 1 neo-fascist, near-fascist, because that's what you get in the Republican Party. Well, guess what? Knowing that the people that vote there's going to be Democrats out there that are going to be voting for this. We're going to elect the most moderate of the Republicans. We're not going to be electing those ultra right wing people that you wouldn't let walk your dog. And such as it is. But back to what I mentioned earlier. B-Cube's Sunday morning is still going to be our podcast here with people who are doing stuff. Like next week, I believe it's going to be Cliff Winnick and some mysterious guests that he will tell me about an hour and 10 minutes before the show. You hear that, Cliff? That's me saying, tell me who you got coming on. Because Cliff brings on some good people, and I really want to be able to publicize them. Oh, and regarding to Baba, Shaggy, well, I tell you what, my representative, he's not a complete asshole. In fact, he voted to impeach Donald Trump as a Republican, and he's the only one that survived that. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that his district is 2-1 Republican. And if Trump went out against him and forced us to have some of those really, really, really terrible Republicans we have in this district, he just might wind up with a Democrat. Because back when I was younger, all of our people were Democrats in this district, and I liked it. But back to the point, we're doing the readings. So if you are one of our authors and you want to do a reading, we're going to do readings with 1 or 2 authors every Sunday night. Probably bring in a poet and a story. And if we do well, we will keep it up. And if we don't do well, we'll keep it up because I'm old. I get in the habit of doing things. I just keep doing them. Now, one other thing, just to remind you guys, call your moms, call your sisters who have kids, call your aunts, call your people that don't have children, because motherhood is not just the birthing of a child. Motherhood is those people that influence your raising. Some of the people that influenced my upbringing uh, were aunts. I loved them. They, I have uh, my first 5 books that I ever received all came from an aunt because she thought reading was important. And she was the only one that did that. And I loved it. She gave me Tom Sawyer. She gave me Huckleberry Finn. She gave me a little kind of a textbook, Energy and Power. She gave me Johnny and the Birds. Uh, just wonderful books that I grew up with, thinking this is cool uh, because we didn't have a lot of money and resources, but I always had something to read, even if it was sneaking off into the corner of the basement in my grandmother's house and finding a book of her old college texts that that I would dust off and borrow. I think is the word I used. And if I go down in my basement, I can still find texts that I borrowed, and know that with any great luck, my grandchildren will borrow mine. And so those of you who are electrifying your signs to keep the goats, I'd say away. And if that goat is a GTO, I just ask the guy if you trade him the sign, tell him you'll let him borrow the sign if you can borrow his car. And I think you'd both come out ahead. And harkening back to an older one. And anybody has any real key points, I'm not that they want to. Um, uh, well, what happens if I push this button? Oh, okay. You know, there's a wonderful thing that if you're um, bored and find a button on your computer, just push it, see what happens. And you'll never go wrong. And don't be Derek, I like that, or the one who screams at protesters, I'm a goddamn U.S. congressman. Yeah, most U.S. congressmen would be, damned in that case, as I remember reading a certain verse that talks about the type of people that go to hell, and one of them is liars that'll get to go swimming in the lake of fire. And a lot of congressmen I've met are indeed liars. And speaking of congressmen that are interesting, what happened with Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene? Boebert went from giving hand jobs in theaters to now just somehow taking on Trump. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, the current Marjorie Taylor Greene, would have been mocked soundly by the old Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is kind of interesting. I'm never going to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene fan, but I have to say, you got to give people credit if they change. They say a leopard can't change their spots, but you know what? They can at least take a shower and get some of the worst of it off. But that said, I've got nobody to go to for closeout, so I'll just close it out with this. Our American Storm with the artwork by Jeff Sturgeon. Wonderful artwork. We're targeting July 4th to have it out by. Now, considering that I've still got about 20 stories to edit, 25, means that we're going to be pushing hard to get there. So if you're one of our writers, just when we send you your edits, not only do you get to say, oh, wow, that's the most brilliant edits I've ever seen. Thank you, Bob, for being so wonderful. I love those emails. Don't get enough of them. The is just be responsive, and we'll try and be responsive, and we will have a great book out because obviously there's some of the greats in there: Harry Turtledove, Jim Wright, and David Gerald. But there's poets. There's Lisa Tempf, um, Brenda Cooper. Brenda Cooper is one of the most incredible active writers in the Northwest, science fiction. It's just, you know, wow. So just stand by for a great book, and we're going to have it out. And that said, see you tonight at 1800, 6 o'clock for those of you that were in the Army. And we'll listen to Ken Scholes read his wonderful story he gave us to be in um, Space Force and beyond. Take care, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.